good day today. Guys were locked in, intentional on the things that we need to get better at. So I thought they brought a really good mindset.
Does not having an opponent do anything different for you on a day like today?
I mean, it allows you to focus on yourself a little bit more. But at the end of the day, I think either team presents challenges, some the same, some completely different. So it's a good day to just kind of get better on the things that, we can get better at learning from last series. At the same time, prepare for some of the themes that both, opponents present, that are similar.
Joe, you talked a little bit about being able to pull things from other teams, watching some other teams in crunch time, just looking at other games, especially with the week off here, able to watch some of those other games. What kind of things do you pull from other teams, from other games that you watch throughout the summer?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a number of things: how coaches use their timeouts, how they use their challenges, play calls, coverages defensively, who uses 2-for-1s, who doesn't use them. What are the things that go into winning in a close game? But just like that, we talked about before, when you see a close game, we also watch the end of quarters, start of quarters, because as important as the last 2 minutes of a game are, those things aren't as important as starting quarters, ending quarters, and the first 40 minutes are just important as the last 8. So when you see a close game, it's also fun going to the beginning and the end of quarters and seeing what got to that point.
Was that new this year? Was that something that you kind of like implemented going into this year, that process of doing that with the players, and what's that been like?
No, we did it last year too, and just continuing to learn. It just gives good perspective on what goes on around the league and what our opponents are doing and what other people are doing.
You talked much to Kristaps. Where is he just mentally right now as he goes through his?
Great place. He's working hard every single day to make as fast as a recovery as he can. So he's there for everything, and can't go underestimate how hard he works trying to come back in a timely fashion.
Has he been able to do much more on the court, just practice-wise for himself?
I have no idea.
Are you optimistic you might get him back in this series?
I feel like I'm a rather optimistic person in general.
Joe, the offense all season has been pretty dynamic. What's the challenge in keeping it dynamic throughout the playoffs versus when everything's switching and it tends to go a little bit more ISO? You have so many options on offense. How do you keep those options as options?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is deciding, understanding what the coverage is. We didn't see any switching last series. Saw a lot of switching in the first series. So to me, the way we keep it dynamic is having an understanding of like every game, every series is going to have a different challenge to it on both ends of the floor. And so you saw in Series 1 there was more switching, more physicality, rim protection. We had to find ways to space out of bio with the switching in different ways. The second series was more show and get back to your own with rim protection. So had to find ways to combat Mobley there. And both teams they do different stuff defensively. So I think it's more about just having the open mind. You got to be ready against every coverage, and every coverage presents opportunities, but also presents weaknesses. So you just got to kind of be ready for those.
Joe, 6 days between the conclusion of the last series of Tuesday, intensity, or how do you plan to talk about that with
just kind of handle it the same way we did the Miami series, and I don't know how many days that was, but and the Cleveland series. At the end of the day, both are important. You have to get proper time for rest, but you also got to ramp up and re-enter the fight and create your own intensity and your own toughness. So that was the theme of today, and I feel like we're taking advantage of both. We're getting a proper rest. We're as healthy as we can be, and we're re-entering the fight starting today. So you have to be able to do both.
Two very different paces, obviously, Indiana and New York. Just from a pace standpoint with your team, how you want to face off against, maybe a team that plays very fast like in Indiana, or a team that really wants to kind of slow the game down in New York?
Both present, again, opportunities. Both present weaknesses. And so I think it's just, depending upon who our opponent is, finding the things that we can take advantage of. And then finding the threats that we have to be ready for. I think that's the most important thing.
Watching the city match, in soccer, you have to be consistently good throughout the year to have a chance to win at the end. Basketball's a little bit different in that regard. I'm wondering, you've talked to the team so much about the values of soccer. How much of the way that soccer is played kind of differently over the course of the year did you provide them as like a guide to be more consistent over the year to prepare for this point?
Yeah, I mean, you look at it more just from a tactical standpoint on things that you can learn. It's a way to keep things fresh. So we haven't talked as much about it throughout the playoffs as we did during the year. But I think the challenge presents itself of how do you find the opportunities to take away your opponent's strengths, and then how can you find the threats to your threats and leverage those and manage those. And I think that's the most important thing is whoever we play, there's things that we can take advantage of, and they're going to try to take advantage of us. And we got to minimize those, and then we got to really do a great job of taking away all their strengths on both sides of the ball.
Joe, other than the All-Star break, this is probably the longest stretch you've had just without games. Personally, what do you do other than game plan and study to kind of pass the time? Are you all hoop? What do you do in that span to kind of take your mind off?
Yeah, I think both. Like we talked about with the team, it's the same. Like you want to get some mental and emotional rest, but you also want to stay in the fight. So you also got to stay engaged and locked in mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, because there's a fight coming up. It's going to be a long one, and we're just coming out of a fight. So it's like that space in between bouts, right? Like how do you recover, but at the same time, how do you not let your guard down? How do you stay in the fight? How do you stay ready? Stay engaged into the things that are important, that go into winning, that go into being prepared. I think you have to, just like the team, I think the staff's got to do both.
Protecting home court.
Last question.
Protecting home court, is that something you guys have talked about?
Yeah, it's funny. Does anybody know the records of all the teams in the playoffs this year at home? Oh, yeah, I know. That's interesting because we're third at 4-2. One team's 6-0. Knicks are 5-1, and everyone else is 4-2. So I think we've done a relatively decent job of protecting home court. At the end of the day, is you got to win regardless. It doesn't matter where we play. You got to win, and you got to do all the things that go into winning. So we just talked about that. Regardless of where the game is, the most important thing are the details that go into winning, and sticking to those.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.